Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Week 9 review of CFL action. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out some of our other videos. It's me and my brother who both run this channel, obviously, as you know. But anyways, we're going to get just straight into it because there's a lot to cover through. So we have the first game, which is Edmonton versus Ottawa. Ottawa does it. They win a game. They don't win very often, so it is very interesting when they do. So they beat Edmonton, which I believe is their second win. I believe they've only beat Edmonton this season. And Edmonton this game, the entirety of this game, the number one problem is that no one was talking to each other. And I feel like one of the places you really see it in this game more than others is their special teams. Like, you had guys, like, running into each other, like, and I'm talking the same team, obviously. Guys running into each other, guys not knowing, like, you know, where they're covering, knowing what the coverage is, and Ottawa just took full advantage of it. And Ottawa, for the lack of talent that roster has, they played very well as a team. Evans had a first game, had a very good first game at QB. Welcome to the CFL. And one thing I really noticed about Ottawa this game is because I feel like because Ottawa knew they actually had a chance of winning this game, they really kind of went all out because they looked hungry and they were aggressive, both physically and strategically. They'd be absolutely jumping off the line of scrimmage, and really would sometimes overwhelm this O-line. And they also were very, very aggressive strategically in the sense of, you know, they went for some gutsy plays. And honestly, it paid off. I don't think Edmonton really expected this much fire coming out of this Ottawa team, which is why Ottawa would take up the win 34-24 in this game. Now bring us to our next game, which was Winnipeg versus BC. Another win, another day. The Bombers will win this one 30-9 over the BC Lions in what I think everyone expected to be a much closer game. However, this game, top to bottom, was really a flawless game for the Bombers. And that's not me trying to be biased. I think this was our best game all season. And it might have been our best. Might have. You know, it was really nice beating Saskatchewan a few times, but I mean, we hit every single kick. Now, to be fair, they weren't hard kicks, but, you know, we've missed some pretty easy ones in the past, so it was nice to hit all of them. And top to bottom, the offense and defense were all great. And one thing that I think really was something that people aren't talking about enough is how fantastic our offensive and defensive line were, which I think were the number one reason to this game being not nearly as close as anyone thought it was going to be. There's that. Lucky Whitehead got injured, I believe, in the second quarter of the game. He injured his wrist in what we now know as, I believe, a broken wrist, and he's going to be out, I believe, 4 weeks, I heard, which seems relatively short for a broken wrist, but yeah, he actually eventually came back later that game, but you could clearly tell that he couldn't really catch the ball. He kind of... I feel like that him coming back, it doesn't really show... Like, I guess it shows resilience in Lucky. However, I think even more so it shows the lack of receiver depth that BC has. Because past Whitehead and Burnham, who is there? You know, there isn't much. And that's one thing where I feel like the Bombers are going to be all right because I'm not sure if you are aware of this. This came out in this past day, but Kenny Lawler, I believe, got arrested for, I believe, drunk driving. So he got suspended 1 game by the team. He actually came forward to the team about the incident, which is good because you won't see that happen very, very often. A lot of teams will try to sweep it under a rug. So as much as obviously I think we're all disappointed that this happened, as it's something that's completely avoidable and unacceptable. I'm at least pleased about everyone involved being forthcoming about it rather than trying to sweep it under the rug and we find years later. So is what it is. He'll sit out one game, but I think that's fine. I'm very confident in the other receivers we have, as well as Roosevelt if he possibly plays. I mean, he's a 2-time 1,000-yard receiver, so I wouldn't be surprised if we throw him in the lineup. The Bombers also had a ton of throwing in this game. They just way more than they usually do. But overall, there's really not a whole lot more to say about this game as we got some doozies up next. So that will be a 30-9 win for the Bombers. And that'll bring us into our next game, which is Montreal versus Hamilton. Mazzoli's back, Banks is back, but it doesn't matter because Montreal takes the win. I don't understand how Hamilton doesn't get this. In the sense of, I even predicted Montreal to win, but Hamilton had every opportunity. They had their star receiver coming back, their star quarterback coming back, and the opposing team's QB gets injured in the first quarter. I don't understand why this Hamilton team doesn't take enough advantage of it. I mean, it was a close game. It was a good game overall, but this is a game where I think Hamilton's got to be more motivated seeing these guys come back in the roster. And it was really tight the whole way through. Hamilton started to pull away in the third quarter, but at that point, Vernon Adams Jr. came back into the game. I think they really should have started to pull this away in the second quarter if they wanted to have a handleable win over Montreal, but obviously they didn't. Dunbar Jr. had a good game. I think Montreal had a very good defense in this game. That was one thing that I thought was pretty key. And I forgot to mention that when Adams was out, Schultz was the one who went and played QB while he was out. But Montreal would win this game 23-20 in a holy shit style game. Because, Hamilton, 2 seconds left in the game. They're behind by 3. They need to tie it. They hit a 55-yard field goal to force this to overtime just to fumble it and blow it immediately. Is what it is. I mean, I've only been to one NFL game in person, and that exact play, or almost that exact play, happened. I saw a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. This was the year prior to them acquiring Tom Brady, and they were playing the Atlanta Falcons, and they had really clawed back to force an overtime. They then had the very first play after receiving a kickoff. Threw an interception and touchdown, got it ran on him. So reminded me a lot of that because, it's the only NFL game I went to, so I have a lot of memories of it. But anyways, that'll bring us to our next game, Saskatchewan versus Calgary. I was not expecting this. You know what? And it's bound to happen. It's bound for teams that are relatively close to go the other way, the way you don't expect it. Which is why I gotta say, as much as I love the Bombers, I was surprised they went 2-0 over the Roughriders, but I was very pleased about it. Calgary's starting to get back into it. They had a really slow start at the start of the season, and Saskatchewan had a very weird game because Calgary had the start of the game was the opposite of the start of their season. They were on fire at the start of this game. They were hot. Both Bo Levi Mitchell and Jake Maier would play this game, both contributing to the win. One thing I also found interesting about this game that really doesn't have anything to do with the game was they use a Skycam. Cool. They don't use it very often in the CFL. They'll use it in playoffs sometimes. They always use it in the Grey Cup and occasionally in some of the opening games like the Bombers home opener, which was the start of the season. So they use that. Overall, it was a really close game. 23-17 win for the Calgary Stampeders over the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I know a lot of Rider fans are really disappointed about this one. Honestly, does it suck? Yeah, of course. It sucks losing anytime, especially when you're a team that's doing really well. But I wouldn't shake your head too much over this. It looked like they just weren't playing the way they could. The same way when the Bombers lost to the Argonauts, they just kind of played like shit. It wasn't really, you know, because I'd be concerned if guys get injured, because then you're going to be talking about these guys going for future games. But just guys played like shit, and, you know, get over it, move on, get to the next one, you know, and I think they will. Which is why I wouldn't be overly concerned about it if I was a Rough Riders fan. But anyways, that will be all for this video. Stay tuned for my Week 10 preview. Holy shit, it's going that fast. What the fuck? But also check out our my Bomber game reactions as well as my brother's Jets game reactions. We watch all the games, and we talk about them much more in depth than I am now. But hopefully this is at least good for these. So stay tuned. I'll see you guys next time.